What's going on, you guys? Kid behind the camera here. And today I wanted to do a different kind of video. Today, I wanted to make a video explaining to all of you guys what happened to Tina. You know, it's a big controversy going on right now with my channel about Tina and how suddenly she disappeared from the channel last year, and a lot of people don't really know why. And admittedly, I didn't do a good enough job explaining to you guys the entire story, the entire situation. I didn't explain to you what was happening, and I didn't fill everybody in. And so I decided that that's what I was going to do today. This is the story about what happened with Tina. And by the way, if you don't know who she is, watch this. Right off the bat, I want to say that Tina was a good friend. Despite everything that happened and everything that was said, Tina was somebody that we could count on. She was crazy. She always came through. I considered her a friend. And then everything happened and it all snowballed and everything got out of control and we were no longer friends. And maybe I'm part of the blame. Maybe I'm part of the blame for that. Maybe I could have done things differently than I did, and for that I am sorry. You know, to Tina, I am sorry. Maybe I handled things like a kid instead of like a man. But at the same time, so did you. Things got out of control really fast, and unfortunately, we are no longer friends because of it. The first part of this story is more of a cautionary tale for people who actually want to do YouTube. You know, one of the things that's going to happen if you start to gain any kind of traction on this platform is you're going to develop some haters. And we're not talking about people who just leave horrible comments. We're not talking about people who just don't like you and tweet you bad stuff. We're talking about haters that decide to try to profit off of you. People who decide to open channels and the only thing that they do is piggyback on your success and try to talk about you to build a fan base off of your hard work. Because what they'll do is tap into the other haters and that will become their fan base. And it really stems from the fact that they don't really have enough creativity to turn themselves into a character or a channel or something that people want to watch. So instead, they just talk crap. And that works. People enjoy it. A lot of people love shit talkers. I'm just not one of them. Now, the reason I'm bringing up haters making videos about you if you start doing YouTube is that's exactly what happened with Tina. That was the beginning of the end, because all through 2016, Tina was obsessed with these channels. What were they saying? Why were they talking about her? Everything that they were doing. And I would keep reminding her, Tina, these people don't matter. And you guys, I'm here to tell you that if you do a YouTube and these people start making videos about you, they don't matter. They're only tapping into your haters. They're not tapping into the people that actually care about you and that love you. Those people are gonna look at what these people are saying and say, yeah, that's bull. And that's exactly what it is, and that's why I never responded to them. Guys, I don't respond to those people. Because if I respond to a bunch of lies, I'm just going to give a whole bunch of views to a channel that never deserved it in the first place, when there's so many channels out there that are trying to grow that deserve the spotlight a lot more than somebody lying about me. So I choose not to respond. And that's what I told Tina. I would tell her, listen, who cares? And she would say she understands. All right, I got it. I'll stop. Dropped. Forget it. And the next day, Joe Schmo 47 said this about me. And I would say, Tina, the video's got 12 views. So what? Who's watching it? But she always took it to heart and she always cared. And it got to the point where me and Dad finally had to just make a video defending her just in case she needed it. So the other night, Grandpa took a fall and he really hurt himself. And I told him to go to the hospital and he wouldn't. And it was all because this guy was saying lies.
He is not going to hurt Tina. I'm going to see to it. Michael and Bridget are going to see to it. And I know you youngins are not going to let him pull this shit no more on Tina. So yeah. I need the help of the youngins.
I kept telling her, Tina, please do not use this video unless you need it, because this is going to give this person a lot of attention. So Don't use it in case you need it. And she kept thinking she needed it, and I kept telling her, you don't need it. This guy's got no views, he's got no audience, he's just talking. Forget it. Why are you paying it any attention? And it never occurred to her that freaking out like this is what's giving them their power. It became really apparent to all of us that there was nothing that we could do to change Tina's mind. That all of these channels were coming after her and there was nothing that we could do to stop it. So I came up with the idea for Tina to start feeding these channels misinformation. And she took me up on it. She started reaching out to all these hater channels and she started talking to them privately and she started giving them fake information and they would report it. Angry Grandpa's getting a peanut wagon for Christmas, and it was a whole thing. We would laugh about it. And I started to notice that there was a change. And I think what happened is she started to feel important. She was talking to these haters and they would laugh at her jokes and they would talk about us, and somewhere along the line she went from an undercover agent to just being another hater. Everything that me and Bridget thought was going to happen eventually happened, because come January there was a leaked podcast that came out with Tina talking about us.
I'll kill him. Dead. I'll just recap that clown video. I broke it. He calls people filthy names. Little kids will be saying, AGP, I don't know how I would have got through this. You're like a grandfather to me. He said, go fuck yourself and throw it in the garbage.
Now it's important to note, you guys, that she didn't know that this was being recorded and somebody recorded it privately and put it on the internet. But that's not what's important. What's important is it was being talked about us behind our backs, and we never did that to Tina. We had Tina's back from day one. She just didn't think that we did because we kept telling her to ignore everything. But if she would have just listened to me, I was telling her to ignore it for her own benefit, so she wouldn't get like this, so she wouldn't be so afraid. Tina, if you would have just listened to me, none of this would have happened. If you would have just listened to me, I wouldn't have had to hear you on a podcast talking about how you assaulted my father on purpose. I wouldn't have had to hear you talk about egging my house, and I had to file a police report. I could have been the bigger man. I could have listened to that podcast, driven over to Tina's house and talked to her and said, hey, let's work this out because this is stupid. I could have done that. Instead, I decided to act like a boy. Instead of acting like a man, I decided to act like a boy, and I decided to say screw it and cut Tina off. I decided that we were done with her. And in hindsight, that was a stupid thing to do. And Tina, I apologize. I should have talked to you. And look, I'm not apologizing that we caught you talking about us, but I do apologize about how I reacted to the situation, how I didn't just go up to you and talk about it and say, hey, this can't happen anymore. I should have done that. But I didn't, and things happened the way they happened. I decided to write Tina off, and that just wasn't the right move. Once she saw the writing on the wall that we were done with her, she decided to go public and make a channel of her own. And on that channel, she would say that we were fake, and that we weren't paying her, and that we were mistreating her and didn't care about her. And none of that was true, you guys. We were always there for Tina. We always gave her money when she needed it. We were always there for friendship, for support. Whatever she needed, we were there for her, because I'm a strong believer in keeping your friends and your family close, because they're all you have. And when she turned her back on us, I was so hurt. I even went as far as to making a diss track that I never released.
Tell me what I did to you, the bitches talking and do this. Like she did this shit so she get rich and you're getting sued. I'm sick of getting used, the bitches finished. It's true, I got the proof to prove that it was you. It's all too much to put up with. I'm stunging up.
She just kept running her mouth and talking about us, and I was getting angrier and angrier, and I wanted to address it. So I decided to make one video on my vlogging channel, and on that video I showed text messages and I showed clips. And I showed that we were a friend to her when she was saying that we weren't. And I did everything that I needed to do. I covered my bases, and I was done with Tina. Unfortunately, she wasn't done with us. She decided to keep making video after video after video after video about us, and just being belligerent and, in my opinion, crazy. And it got to the point where I had to hire a lawyer and take Tina to court for defamation of character. And when it became apparent that there was nothing that we could get from her, I decided to go after it criminally, because she had definitely wronged us. She had egged our house. She was digitally harassing us. And I wanted it to stop. So we went after a restraining order. And I'll tell you what, guys, we got it. A lot of people said that we didn't go to court. Let me tell you something. We got a restraining order. Okay? Tina signed it. She agreed to it because she knew what she did was wrong. She knew she was talking about us and saying stuff that she shouldn't have said, and she wanted it to be done as much as we did. So before we even got through the whole thing, we were playing audio clips and screenshots, and before we had to even finish it, she was like, you know what? I'll submit to it. I'll sign it. I'll take the restraining order. And as you can see, it's in effect until May of 2018. So we got a restraining order for 1 year. We tried to get her to agree to 5 years, but apparently in the state of South Carolina for a civil matter, you can only do 1 year at a time. But we got a restraining order against Tina. You're probably saying to yourself, wow, Michael, you stood up for your family like a man. You took her to court and everything was happily ever after. Wrong. Wrong. We weren't even out of court an hour before she was making more videos about us. And the restraining order specifically covered digital harassment. And she didn't care. She kept making videos about us, and some of them just straight up calling us by name. And so I decided I'm going to take her back to court. I'm going to try to get her to really leave us alone. And guess what? We took her back to court and we lost. Apparently, we live in a country where digital harassment just isn't understood by the laws enough yet, and we lost. Tina walked out of there smug, laughing, gotcha. And I was so angry. I was so angry that she beat us because clearly we were right. Clearly she violated the restraining order, and it became apparent to me that we weren't going to be protected by this sport. It's like worth as much as the paper it's printed on. It's not worth anything if they're not going to protect you with it. So I decided right there, I'm done. We're not talking about Tina ever again. I'm finished. And I was done. I stopped talking about her. I wrote her out of my life. And then October came. Dad was in the hospital. And I walked up to him, and he was in the ICU, and I said, Dad, do you want to see Tina? And at first he looked at me and he said, no, Mike, I don't. But I could read his eyes. I could tell that he just knew that we had so much turmoil and history that he wasn't going to say yes to that. But I knew he wanted it, and I was like, I'm going to call her now. And I called her, and we talked, and I said, hey, we have our differences, but you should come up here and talk to Dad because I don't know if he's going to make it. And she did. And we talked and we hugged and we left the room so her and Dad could spend the day together. And they spent a long time together just talking and catching up. And I think she sort of realized the time she lost messing with all this BS. I think she realized that by listening to all these people doing this and whispering into her ear that she should have been making all this money when you know, we were making this and she deserved that. I think she finally realized that all of that cost her a year with her best friend. And it did. It cost her a year with Grandpa. A year she'll never get back. A year I'll never get back. The last year that I spent with my dad, he had to see me taking his best friend to court and getting a restraining order against her because she was harassing us. And that's not what I wanted to happen. That's not how I wanted him to spend his last year alive. And so he passed. And we invited her to the funeral. And I invited her to I asked her if she would come to my house afterwards and we would all talk and just reminisce. And she didn't come. And that was the end of the story, or so I thought. Because last week, I went to Grandpa's old house because I wanted to reminisce. I wanted to see where he used to live. And we ran into Tina.
So what are y'all doing here, though? You didn't lose nothing here, Bo. You got that big mansion in the sky over there, Delta Dawn? You got the other one over there? What do I got? I'm still right here, right? Right? Put the camera down, princess! You can tell, Bo. It's all like Donkey Kong, man. Yo! Yo, for real? I can't do this!
And it brought back all these horrible feelings, all these thoughts and emotions that I thought that I put away, that I thought were gone. Taking her to court, watching her in the hospital say goodbye to my father, realizing that we were friends again, and then seeing it just get flushed down the toilet because she wants to be angry about stuff that I can't change, stuff that she did that she should have changed, and I got pissed off that I never confronted her about it in the first place. I got pissed off that I left. I got pissed off that I didn't say the stuff that I needed to say, and I'm pissed off now that I never, came face to face with Tina and just told her how I felt and let, everything, just leave all my cards on the table. And I'm pissed off that I never did that. So guys, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what this video's about. If you're wondering why I'm telling you everything that happened between me and Tina, well, there's a reason. Because in the next video, this Friday, I'm confronting Tina.